Hey there, Ruth Haven Grounds family. Today I'm sharing something that completely transformed my gardening life, and I know it's going to change yours too. We're diving deep into an age-old Amish gardening method that has helped countless gardeners say goodbye to endless weeding and exhausting tilling. If you're tired of spending your weekends on your knees pulling weeds or watching those persistent invaders take over your beautiful garden beds, this is the game changer you've been waiting for. I'll be honest with you. For years, I fought a losing battle against weeds. Every spring, I'd till my garden, plant my crops, and within weeks, the weeds would come roaring back with a vengeance. I was caught in this exhausting cycle that left me discouraged and wondering if there was a better way. Then I discovered how the Amish have been gardening for generations, creating thriving, virtually weed-free gardens without the constant labor we've come to accept as normal. Let me show you how they do it, and more importantly, how you can start implementing these methods in your own garden right now. Before we get into the solution, we need to understand why conventional gardening keeps us trapped in the weeding cycle. When you till your soil, you're essentially creating the perfect conditions for weeds to thrive. Each time those tiller blades churn through your earth, they're bringing up thousands of dormant weed seeds that have been sitting peacefully below the surface, sometimes for decades. You're literally inviting them to germinate by exposing them to light and air. The Amish recognized this problem long ago. Their approach to gardening isn't about fighting nature, but working with it. They understood that disturbing soil creates more problems than it solves, which is why their gardens remain productive year after year with minimal weed pressure. This wisdom didn't come from agricultural colleges or scientific studies. It came from generations of observation, trial and error, and a deep respect for the natural systems that govern healthy soil. The cornerstone of the Amish weed-free method is what I call aggressive mulching, and it's nothing like the thin layer of wood chips most of us sprinkle around our plants. We're talking about a serious commitment to covering every inch of bare soil with thick protective layers that completely block light from reaching weed seeds. Start with at least 4 to 6 inches of organic mulch material. The Amish traditionally use straw, which is absolutely fantastic because it's relatively inexpensive, readily available in rural areas, and breaks down beautifully to feed your soil. But here's the key that most gardeners miss. You need to apply this mulch thick enough that it creates a true barrier. When I first tried this method, I was timid with my mulch application, thinking I was being generous with 3 inches. It wasn't enough. The weeds laughed at my efforts and pushed right through. What happens beneath this thick mulch layer is truly magical. The soil stays consistently moist, reducing your watering needs dramatically. Earthworms and beneficial microorganisms thrive in this protected environment, doing the work of improving your soil structure naturally. And most importantly, weed seeds that need light to germinate simply can't get what they need. They remain dormant, or if they do sprout, they're so weakened by their journey through the mulch that you can pull them with barely a touch. Here's where the Amish method diverges significantly from conventional gardening, and honestly, it's one of the most important shifts you'll make. Stop thinking about your garden as one big plot that you work entirely each season. Instead, establish permanent beds that you'll never walk on again, separated by permanent pathways. This concept protects your soil structure in ways that tilling destroys. When you walk on garden soil, you compress it, squeezing out the air pockets that plant roots and beneficial organisms need to thrive. The Amish create beds that are narrow enough to reach the center from either side, typically 3 to 4 feet wide, with pathways between them that handle all the foot traffic. Once these beds are established, they stay put. You never till them again. Instead, you build them up over time with compost, mulch, and organic matter that creates this incredibly rich, fluffy soil that plants absolutely love. The pathways get their own thick mulch treatment, often with wood chips or straw that gets refreshed annually. This keeps weeds from growing in your walking areas while creating a clean, organized garden that's actually beautiful to look at. Each spring, while your neighbors are firing up their tillers and creating clouds of dust, you'll be doing something entirely different. The Amish method calls for minimal soil disturbance. You simply pull back your mulch layer, add a fresh layer of compost or well-aged manure directly on top of your soil, and that's essentially it. I love this part of the method because it's so straightforward. You're feeding your soil, not fighting it. That compost layer provides all the nutrients your plants need while continuing to suppress any weed seeds that might be lurking. Then you plant directly into this rich layer, whether you're direct seeding or transplanting seedlings. After planting, here's the crucial step. Immediately mulch around your plants. Don't wait for weeds to appear. Be proactive. Pull that straw or mulch right up close to your seedlings or transplants, leaving just enough space for them to grow. As your plants mature, you can add more mulch to maintain that protective barrier throughout the growing season. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but I already have terrible weeds. How do I start this method when my garden is overrun? This is actually easier than you might think, and the Amish have a solution for this too. For new beds or areas with serious weed problems, you'll want to use what I call the smother method. In late fall or early spring, cover the entire area with cardboard or several layers of newspaper. This becomes your first barrier against existing weeds and grass. Wet it down thoroughly so it stays in place. Then pile your mulch material right on top. We're talking at least 8 to 10 inches for really problematic areas. Leave this in place for a full growing season if possible. What happens underneath is that everything dies back from lack of light, and it all begins to decompose, actually improving your soil in the process. By the following season, you can plant right through this layer, cutting X-shaped holes through the cardboard where you want your plants to go. For perennial weeds like dandelions or thistles that manage to poke through, here's the Amish wisdom. Pull them when the soil is moist, getting as much root as possible, then immediately cover that spot with extra mulch. The key is vigilance in the first year or two. Don't let those perennials go to seed. Each time you remove one, you're reducing the overall weed pressure in your garden. Once you've established this system, maintenance becomes surprisingly minimal. Each season, you'll refresh your mulch layers as they break down and incorporate into the soil. This is actually wonderful because that decomposing organic matter is constantly feeding your garden, improving soil structure, and increasing its water-holding capacity. I walk through my garden once or twice a week during the growing season, and any weeds I encounter are so easy to remove that it hardly feels like work. Most importantly, I'm spending my garden time doing what I actually enjoy, tending my plants, harvesting delicious produce, and connecting with nature, rather than being locked in an endless battle with weeds. The Amish have proven over generations that this method works in all climates and conditions. Whether you're dealing with heavy clay soil, sandy conditions, or anything in between, these principles apply. You're creating a self-sustaining system that gets better every single year. Friends, this isn't just another gardening trend that'll be forgotten next season. This is time-tested wisdom that has sustained Amish gardens for hundreds of years, and it can absolutely transform your gardening experience too. The beauty of this method is that you can start small. Choose one bed, implement these techniques, and watch what happens. I promise you'll be amazed. If you found this information valuable, please subscribe to Ruth Haven Grounds for more practical, proven gardening wisdom that actually works in real gardens. Share this article with your gardening friends who need to break free from the weeding cycle. Together, we're building a community of gardeners who work smarter, not harder, and who understand that the best gardening methods often come from those who've been doing it successfully for generations. Let's grow something amazing together.